The battlefield was quiet in a way that felt wrong. Smoke drifted slowly over broken machines and burning ground. The war had raged for hours, but now it sounded like the universe itself was holding its breath. Captain Elias Kane stood alone among the fallen. His armor was cracked, his body tired, and his hands were shaking from pain and exhaustion. Around him lay the remains of human soldiers and alien war machines, mixed together in silence. He had lost his unit one by one, not because they were weak, but because the enemy was endless. The alien empire had come with ships that blocked the sky and weapons that burned cities into shadows. Elias looked at the ruined horizon and knew this battle was over. Human command had gone silent minutes ago. Earth's last defensive line had fallen on this field. Still, Elias did not kneel. He planted his boots into the cracked ground and tightened his grip on his rifle. If this was the end, he would face it standing. The air suddenly changed. A deep vibration rolled across the battlefield like distant thunder. Burning debris lifted from the ground as light poured down from above. Elias raised his eyes. A massive alien war carrier descended slowly through the smoke, silent and terrifying. From its center, a single figure floated downward, surrounded by glowing energy. The alien queen had arrived. Her presence crushed the air. Alien soldiers across the field dropped to one knee without being told. Even the machines powered down as if afraid to move. Elias felt the pressure on his chest grow heavier. Every instinct screamed at him to lower his weapon, but something stronger kept him still. The queen touched the ground softly. Her armor was sleek and alive with faint light, unlike the brutal machines of her army. She walked forward, stepping past dead humans and shattered tanks without a glance. She stopped only when she stood directly in front of Elias. They were close enough that he could see reflections of fire in her dark visor, close enough that one movement could end his life. Slowly, the queen raised a hand. Alien soldiers tensed, ready to strike. But instead of an attack, she removed her helmet. Her face was not monstrous. It was sharp, alien, and powerful, yet strangely calm. Her eyes were deep and old, carrying weight beyond the battlefield. She looked at Elias, not like a conqueror looks at prey, but like someone seeing a memory come alive. Her expression changed, softening in a way that made no sense. Then she spoke, her voice echoing across the silent field. "I never forgot your hands, human." The words hit Elias harder than any weapon. His breath caught. His thoughts froze. Nothing about this moment followed the rules of war. Alien soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Human survivors watching from distant ruins could not understand what they were seeing. An alien queen speaking gently to a lone human captain. Elias tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. He had never met her before, at least not that he remembered. Yet the way she looked at him made his past feel suddenly dangerous. The queen took one step closer. Her gaze dropped to his hands, stained with blood and dust. Hands that had fired weapons, carried the wounded, and refused to let go. Memories stirred behind her eyes, not of war, but of pain, darkness, and unexpected kindness. Memories she had buried deep under years of conquest. She turned her head slightly and raised her voice. "Stand down," she commanded. The order spread instantly through alien ranks like a shockwave. Weapons powered off. Targeting systems went dark. The battlefield froze in disbelief. The queen raised her hand again, pointing at Elias. "This human is untouchable," she declared. "No one harms him." Elias felt the weight on his chest lift slightly. Shock replaced fear. The war that had crushed worlds now paused because of him. For a brief moment, if you are enjoying this kind of HFY sci-fi story, you are gently invited to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps more stories like this reach the stars. The queen's eyes met Elias's once more. This time, they held something dangerous. Hope. Around them, the universe waited. The war had not ended, but time itself seemed unsure how to move forward. And in the silence between enemies, a forgotten bond had just changed everything. 15 years earlier, far from the great battlefields of Earth, the stars looked quiet and harmless. A small human medical outpost sat on the edge of known space, forgotten by politics and ignored by glory. It was a place where broken soldiers and lost civilians ended up when no one else cared. Elias Kane was not a captain then. He was a young field medic with tired eyes and steady hands. He believed that saving one life mattered, even if the universe did not notice. That night, alarms screamed through the outpost, not from an attack, but from a captured alien transport drifting too close to the station. Security teams boarded it and returned with something no one expected. They dragged in a wounded alien female, chained and bleeding. Her armor was shattered, her body burned, and her breathing slow. The room filled with fear and hatred the moment humans saw her. "She is one of them," someone shouted. "The monsters who burn cities," another voice said. Orders came fast and cold, telling Elias to let her die. The alien opened her eyes. They were sharp and glowing faintly, filled with pain and rage. She tried to rise, but her body failed her. A soldier raised his weapon. Elias stepped in front without thinking. His heart raced, but his voice stayed calm. "She is injured," Elias said. "That means she is a patient." Some laughed, others cursed him. The alien hissed weakly, baring sharp teeth. Her strength was fading, but her pride was not. She expected pain, torture, or death. Instead, Elias knelt beside her. Slowly, carefully, he removed the broken armor pieces. His hands moved with respect, not fear. The room went silent. No one could believe what they were seeing. A human touching an enemy with bare hands. The alien watched him closely, every muscle tense, ready for betrayal. Her species taught that mercy was a lie. Elias cleaned her wounds. He spoke softly, not knowing if she understood the words. His hands were warm, steady, and gentle. For the first time in her life, no one was hurting her to prove strength. For the first time, power did not come with cruelty. Confusion broke through her pain. She tried to pull away. Elias paused, meeting her eyes. "I will not hurt you," he said quietly. Something changed in her expression. Not trust, but hesitation. The kind that cracks long-held beliefs. Security officers argued behind them. Command demanded the prisoner be terminated. Time felt thin and fragile. Elias worked faster, stopping the bleeding, stabilizing her breathing, saving her life one careful movement at a time. The alien queen she would become later remembered this moment clearly. The way his hands never shook. The way he treated her like a living being, not a monster. When the outpost lost power hours later, chaos followed. Explosions shook the station. In the confusion, the alien broke free. She stood over Elias, now unconscious from exhaustion. Her instincts screamed to kill him. That was the rule of survival. Instead, she looked at his hands. Hands stained with her blood. Hands that chose mercy over fear. She fled into the void, carrying wounds, memories, and a question that would haunt her for years. Why would an enemy save her? The outpost was destroyed soon after. Records burned, witnesses scattered. Elias was reported dead for months. When he finally returned to service, the galaxy had moved on. The alien prisoner was marked as terminated. The incident buried under classified files. Elias never forgot that night. Not because of fear, but because of doubt. He wondered if kindness had been a mistake. Far across the stars, the alien survivor healed. Her body grew stronger, but her mind was restless. Human hands had touched her fate. She rose through conflict and blood, hiding the memory deep inside. A secret weakness in a brutal world. She would one day become queen, and she would command fleets and burn worlds. But she would never forget the human who saved the monster she once was. And the universe was quietly moving pieces into place, toward a battlefield where mercy and war would collide again, toward a moment where hands would matter more than weapons. The alien homeworld was a place of sharp beauty and constant fear. Towering black cities rose from crimson land, lit by cold stars that never felt kind. This was a world where power decided truth and mercy was seen as weakness. The wounded alien Elias had saved returned here in secret. Her body healed slowly, but her mind never found peace. Every scar reminded her of survival, and every quiet moment reminded her of human hands. Her people called her kind ruthless. From birth they were taught that compassion invited death. To hesitate was to fall. She hid her memories carefully. If anyone learned that a human had once spared her, she would be executed without question. Kindness was treason in her culture. As years passed, war shaped her into something feared. She fought in campaigns across distant systems. She learned to command, to destroy, and to endure. Yet before every battle, her thoughts returned to that medical room, to the silence broken only by pain and calm human words, to hands that healed instead of harmed. Her rise was not fast, but it was unstoppable. Rivals underestimated her because she did not seek attention. Enemies fell because she planned patiently and struck only when needed. She learned how empires truly worked, not through strength alone, but through fear carefully managed. She became a master of control. When she finally claimed the throne, the galaxy trembled. The old rulers died screaming, and the new queen stood calm among the blood. They called her cold. They called her perfect. They never saw the quiet war inside her. As queen, she ruled with iron law. Worlds that resisted were punished harshly. Yet something strange followed her campaigns. More prisoners survived than before. Civilian zones were sometimes spared without explanation. Entire cities were conquered without being erased. Her generals questioned these choices. The council warned her of weakness. She listened and said nothing. In private chambers, the queen removed her armor and stared at her hands. Hands that had taken countless lives. Hands that remembered being saved. She wondered if mercy could exist without destroying order. She wondered if humans were wrong about strength. She wondered if one act long ago had changed her fate. Then came the reports from the outer systems. A species resisting conquest far beyond expectations. Humans. The queen read the data carefully. Humans lost worlds, fleets, and billions of lives. Yet they refused to surrender. They fought even when defeat was certain. They rebuilt defenses overnight. They stood again and again. One report caught her attention. A human commander known for impossible survival. His name was Elias Kane. The queen froze. The name echoed through memories she had buried for years. She ordered full records immediately. Images appeared on the display. A human officer with tired eyes and familiar posture. Older, scarred, but unmistakable. The queen felt something dangerous rise inside her. Not fear, but recognition. The past was no longer silent. She ordered the invasion plans adjusted. Earth would not be destroyed quickly. Time was suddenly important. Her council protested. They demanded full annihilation to send a message. The queen silenced them with a single look. Deep inside, she knew the truth. The human whose hand saved her now stood between her empire and its greatest test. The universe was forcing a choice she had avoided for years. As the fleets moved toward Earth, the queen prepared quietly. She strengthened loyal forces. She studied human behavior in detail. She told herself this was strategy. That delaying destruction was logical. That mercy had nothing to do with it. But at night, alone under alien stars, she remembered pain and kindness. She remembered weakness that felt like strength. She remembered hands that did not kill when they could have. The queen understood now why humans frightened her generals. A species that could fight endlessly and still choose compassion was dangerous. Such beings could not be ruled forever. As the final assault on Earth began, the queen knew one truth. This war was no longer about conquest. It was about whether mercy deserved to survive in a cruel galaxy. And somewhere on a burning battlefield, a human with familiar hands was waiting, unaware that an alien queen was already remembering him. Earth burned, but it did not break. Cities lay in ruins, skies glowed with fire, and oceans shook from falling ships. Yet humanity continued to fight, as if defeat was not an option. Elias Kane moved through the chaos, like a shadow. He had lost his rank's comfort and his army's protection. What remained was duty and stubborn will. Human forces were scattered. Communication failed again and again. Supplies were low, hope even lower. Still, small human units kept striking. They used old ships, damaged weapons, and clever traps. They attacked not to win, but to survive one more hour. The alien generals watched in disbelief. No species had ever resisted this long without surrender. Humans refused every offer to kneel. Elias led a counterattack through the ruins of a dead city. Alien walkers towered above broken buildings. Human soldiers moved between shadows like ghosts. They lost people with every push forward. But every loss made them fight harder. Grief turned into fire. Elias pulled wounded soldiers to safety with his own hands. He carried civilians through collapsing tunnels. The battlefield saw his hands more than his weapon. From orbit, the alien queen watched the conflict closely. She saw patterns her generals ignored. Human resistance was not random. Elias struck supply lines instead of armies. He attacked command units instead of strongholds. Every move bought humans more time. The queen felt a strange tension grow inside her. These were not animals fighting extinction. These were thinking beings refusing to surrender their identity. Her council demanded full planetary cleansing. They warned that mercy would cost the Empire everything. They accused humans of poisoning her judgment. The queen listened in silence. Her eyes followed live feeds from the surface. She saw Elias stand between civilians and plasma fire. A human child reached for him as explosions fell nearby. Elias lifted the child and shielded them both. The queen's breath caught without warning. Those hands again, always protecting, always choosing others over survival. On the ground, alien forces closed in. Elias and his unit were surrounded on all sides. Escape was impossible. Human command sent a final message. There would be no reinforcements. This fight was meant to delay, not survive. Elias gathered his soldiers. He did not promise victory. He promised meaning. We stand, he told them, not because we can win, but because we choose who we are. The soldiers nodded. Fear was still there, but shame was gone. Alien artillery powered up. The final strike sequence began. The city below was marked for erasure. From orbit, the queen felt her control slipping. Her empire demanded blood. Her past demanded mercy. She realized then that humans were not refusing to kneel out of pride alone. They fought because surrender meant becoming something less than themselves. That choice terrified empires built on obedience. As plasma rained down, Elias stood tall. He raised his weapon not in anger, but in defiance. The ground shook violently. Alien soldiers prepared to finish the humans. Then everything stopped. Weapons froze mid-fire. Orders vanished from command channels. The entire invasion stalled without warning. Alien troops looked to the sky in confusion. Human soldiers stared in disbelief. The battlefield fell silent once more. The queen had given a single command, one that shocked her empire. Cease all planetary annihilation. Her generals protested instantly. They warned of rebellion. They warned of weakness. The queen did not answer them. Her gaze remained fixed on the surface, on one human who refused to kneel. She knew the cost of this choice would be terrible. Her throne would not remain safe. Her empire would turn against her. But she also knew this moment could not be undone. Humans had proven something no data could deny. They would rather die standing than live without mercy. And far below, Elias felt the fire pause. He did not know why, but for the first time, he sensed the war itself was changing. The universe leaned toward a breaking point, where power would face defiance, and mercy would challenge fear. The ceasefire did not bring peace. It brought fear, confusion, and anger. Both sides waited for the next betrayal. On Earth, human soldiers stayed in position. Weapons remained ready. No one trusted the silence. Elias Kane stood among the ruins. Smoke curled around broken towers. The air smelled of fire and loss. He felt watched, not by enemies aiming to kill, but by something trying to decide. High above the planet, the alien queen faced her council. The chamber was cold and sharp, built to intimidate. Her generals stood in a half-circle, claws tight on their weapons. They spoke with one voice. Humans must be destroyed. Mercy had already gone too far. They accused the queen of hesitation, of weakness, of being changed by the enemy. The queen listened without anger, her face calm, her posture strong. But inside her mind, two worlds were tearing her apart. One world was law, conquest, and survival. The other was memory, kindness, and choice. Both demanded loyalty. She dismissed the council without permission to speak further. That alone was an act of defiance. And everyone in the room understood the danger. Later, alone, the queen ordered a secret transport. No guards, no audience. Only silence and risk. The ship descended through Earth's damaged sky. invisible to most sensors. It landed far from the main battle lines. Elias felt it before he saw it. The air changed again, just like before. The ground hummed under his boots. From the shadows, the queen emerged, without armor, without weapons raised. She walked slowly toward him. Human soldiers aimed instantly, fingers tight on triggers. One word from Elias would start a massacre. "Stand down," Elias said quietly. His voice carried authority earned through survival. The weapons lowered, but fear remained. The queen stopped a few steps away, close enough for both of them to be killed in seconds. Trust balanced on a thin edge. "You remember me," Elias said. It was not a question. It was a realization. "I remember your hands," the queen replied. "They taught me something my people tried to erase." Elias felt anger rise. He thought of burning cities and dead children. "Your empire killed billions," he said. "Yes," she answered. "No excuse will change that." The honesty shocked him. She told him the truth then. About the outpost, the chains, the pain. About a young medic who chose mercy when hatred was easier. Elias listened, heart heavy, memory locked into place. The past finally had a face. "You saved a monster," he said. "Or maybe you saved a queen," she replied. She offered him a choice no human had ever been given. Help her change the empire from within, or kill her and let the war continue without restraint. Elias stared at her. The weight of entire worlds pressed down on his chest. No training prepared him for this. Before he could answer, the ground shook violently. Energy fire ripped through the ruins. Screams cut through the air. Alien ships dropped from cloak mode. Not loyal forces. Rebels. The council had moved faster than expected. They labeled the queen a traitor. Her death sentence traveled at the speed of light. Alien soldiers poured onto the field. Weapons charged, no hesitation. Humans and queen alike were targets. Elias reacted without thought. He grabbed the queen and pulled her behind cover. Her eyes widened in surprise. "You should run," she said. "This is not your war anymore." "It never was," Elias answered. "But I'm still here." Human soldiers joined the fight instantly. Confusion turned into unity. For the first time, humans and aliens fought on the same side. Blast shattered stone. Bodies fell from both species. The battlefield became chaos again. The queen watched Elias fight, not with hate, but with purpose, protecting anyone near him, regardless of side. Something inside her broke free. The last chain of her old world snapped. She knew there was no return now. As rebels closed in, the queen made her decision, not as ruler of an empire, but as a being who remembered mercy. She raised her voice across the battlefield, a command that would shake the galaxy, one that would decide her fate. And Elias, bleeding and exhausted, stood beside her without kneeling, ready to face whatever world came next. The battlefield collapsed into chaos. Fire tore through the ruins, and the sky filled with streaks of burning light. Rebel alien forces attacked without mercy, determined to erase both the queen and the humans beside her. Elias moved on instinct. He shouted orders, pulled wounded soldiers to cover, and returned fire when needed. Every movement came from years of loss and survival. The queen stood near him, exposed but unafraid. Energy shimmered around her as she deflected incoming blasts. Her power was vast, but it was not endless. Rebel commanders focused everything on her. They knew killing the queen would end the doubt spreading through the empire. Her death would restore fear. A blast struck close, throwing Elias across the ground. Pain exploded through his side. He struggled to breathe, but forced himself up. The queen turned instantly. For a moment, the ruler of worlds forgot the war. She saw only a human falling. She reached him, lifting him with careful strength. His blood stained her armor. Her hands trembled despite all her power. "You should not be here," she said. "This fight will destroy you." Elias coughed and smiled weakly. "Someone has to stand," he said. "That's what humans do." Rebel forces closed in. Human soldiers formed a broken line around Elias and the queen. They were outnumbered and running out of ammunition. From orbit, loyal alien units hesitated. They waited for orders that did not come. The empire watched its queen bleed beside a human. The queen understood the moment clearly. This was where fear would either win or shatter. Her next choice would echo across history. She rose to her full height and raised her voice, not in anger, but in certainty. Her command cut through every channel. "I claim this battlefield," she declared. "Any who fire now choose rebellion against me." Some rebel units hesitated. Others attacked harder, driven by hatred. The line between loyalty and treason burned bright. A rebel strike aimed directly at the Queen's unguarded side. Elias saw it too late. His body moved before his mind could argue. He stepped in front of her. The blast tore into him. Pain consumed everything. The Queen screamed, a sound no one in the galaxy had ever heard from her. Time seemed to break. She caught Elias as he fell. His hands reached for hers by instinct. The same hands that once saved a dying alien in a forgotten outpost. Blood soaked the ground beneath them. Human soldiers fought desperately to hold the line. The Queen pressed her forehead to Elias's. "You cannot die," she said. Her voice shook with something close to fear. "I still need those hands." Elias barely opened his eyes. "Then use yours," he whispered. "Change it." Something shifted inside her. Not rage, but resolve. The Queen made her final choice. She stood, still holding Elias with one arm. With the other, she unleashed a signal across the Empire. Not an order of destruction, but of truth. She revealed everything. The mercy she received. The lie that compassion was weakness. Across the galaxy, alien soldiers froze as the message spread. They saw their Queen bleed for a human. They saw loyalty defined not by fear, but by choice. Rebel forces faltered. Some dropped their weapons. Others fled, knowing the war had changed. Loyal fleets finally moved. They crushed the remaining rebels with precision. Not vengeance, but finality. The battle ended not with annihilation, but with silence and disbelief. The galaxy held its breath again. Elias survived the blast, barely. Medical teams worked desperately as the Queen watched. Her hands never left his. For the first time, an alien ruler waited like any other being, powerless against hope, bound by memory. The Queen knew her empire would never be the same. Humans had not conquered her people with weapons. They had done it with hands that refused to let go, and far beyond Earth, in ships, cities, and battle stations. The galaxy began to whisper a dangerous idea, that mercy might be stronger than fear, that humanity had shaken empires simply by standing, that everything was about to change. The war did not end with celebration. It ended with silence, a silence so wide it reached every star system. Across the galaxy, fleets waited for orders that never came. Generals stared at screens, showing a queen who had chosen mercy. Empires built on fear did not know how to breathe anymore. On Earth, fire slowly died out. Rescue teams moved through ruins instead of soldiers. Human survivors stepped into daylight, unsure if the sky would burn again. Elias Kane lay in a field hospital. Machines hummed softly around him. His body was weak, but his hands were still warm. The alien queen remained nearby. She refused to leave until he opened his eyes. Her presence alone kept both humans and aliens at a careful distance. When Elias finally woke, pain greeted him first, then light, then a familiar calm voice. "You stayed," he whispered. "Yes," the Queen replied. "I am done running from what I learned." News spread faster than any fleet ever had. The Queen's message echoed through alien worlds. Mercy was no longer a secret. Some worlds rebelled. Some rulers tried to cling to the old ways. But too many soldiers remembered what they saw. They remembered a queen who bled, a human who stood instead of kneeling, hands reaching across species. Revolutions did not come with firestorms. They came with refusal. Entire fleets powered down and waited. The empire cracked from the inside, not through invasion, but through choice. The Queen addressed the galaxy openly for the first time. Her voice carried without threat. "I was saved by an enemy," she said. "I was shown mercy when I deserved none. And because of that, I choose a new path." Some called her weak. Some called her broken. But many listened. She dismantled conquest laws piece by piece. Worlds were given autonomy instead of chains. Fear lost its crown. Elias recovered slowly. He was offered power, rank, and position. He refused them all. "I did not fight to rule," he said. "I fought so we could choose." The queen understood that answer better than anyone. She ensured humanity would never kneel to her empire. Humans were declared equals, not subjects. Years passed. The galaxy changed shape. Borders mattered less than before. The story of the battlefield became legend, told differently on every world. But one detail never changed. It was not weapons that ended the war. It was hands, human hands that chose mercy without surrender. One quiet day, long after the war, the queen came to Earth without armor or guards. She walked through green fields rebuilt from ash. Elias met her there, older now, slower, but still standing, still human. She took his hands gently, not as a ruler, not as a conqueror. "I never forgot them," she said. "They changed the galaxy." Elias smiled softly. "They were just doing what hands do. They help." The queen looked toward the stars, where fleets once gathered to destroy, now traveled in peace. "The galaxy learned something from your kind," she said. "That strength without mercy is empty." As she left Earth, no ships followed in fear. No weapons tracked her movement. Trust replaced silence. And across the stars, a new truth settled in. Humans were not the strongest species. They were the most dangerous. Because when humans refused to kneel, they did not rise to dominate. They rose to remind the universe what it meant to be alive. And that lesson, carried by simple hands, would never be forgotten.